Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today I have some curriculum that I wanted to share with you. I finally finished purchasing our curriculum for the 2016-2017 school year, and I have most of it has finally found its way to me. And so I figured I'd go ahead and start making videos on what we've chosen. And instead of making a super long video, I'm breaking it down into smaller parts just because it's easier for me to make shorter videos, and I know that most people don't want to sit and watch an hour or longer video on YouTube about curriculum. So today I have our art program and Bible study program to share with you. And we will just go ahead and jump into the art program. This is the Artistic Pursuits curriculum. I purchased this from Rainbow Resource, but you can purchase this from the company itself. And I will list all of that information in the description box below. This is book 1 of the elementary program. There are 3 books. This one is an introduction to the visual arts, and there are 36 lessons with projects in this book. So this book is enough to cover for an entire year. Each lesson will take you about 30 to 60 minutes, depending on your child and how you decide to teach and cover the material. The book it's printed on fairly thick paper. It's comb bound, but this is a very sturdy comb binding. And on the front and back are these clear acrylic sheets to help protect the book itself. This is a non-consumable book. It says on the back, use this book again and again. So you don't have to, you're not coloring, drawing, tearing pages out of this book. This is something you can use with multiple children for, over and over again. So when you get into the book, this is the 3rd edition, you have your table of contents, then you have your materials list, and they break down the materials into 4 different groups, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then there are additional resources that you can purchase for the groups. In each lesson, it'll tell you what group of materials you're using, so it's easy for you to prepare for that week. Pretty much all of these materials can be found at Michael's or Hobby Lobby, and on those websites there are typically like 40 or 50% off coupons that you can use once a day, every single day. And I know for a fact that Hobby Lobby sales are cyclical, and so about every 3 to 4 weeks you're going to see their art materials go on sale for 50% off. So you can definitely catch some of the more expensive items that way if that's what you're interested in. This page is parent-teacher information. This right here is a small introduction and kind of a summary of their idea of how you would teach the material to your child. This book itself is broken down into 3 parts: what artists do, what artists see, and where we find art, and there's a summary of each. And then we get right into the lesson. So the first lesson is called Artists Compose, and it gives you, in this little box here, there's a really quick little summary about the lesson. You have your text that you will go over with your student. The next page is the composition page, where you will look and study at a piece of art with your student. There's a small summary. It lists the artist, the name of the composition, the year it was created. And then there are some questions to help you and your student to get more in depth in the piece of art. And then once you have kind of familiarized yourself with this, you move on to the project. And so this lesson is Artists Compose. The project is You Compose. And so it tells you what you're going to be doing in the steps. It gives you the materials you'll need, what not to do and what to do. There's a pictorial step-by-step here for you. And then right here, this is actually a piece of student work. This is their student gallery. And one thing that's really awesome about this program is that they showcase student work in their book. And so if your child were to create something that you think is really awesome, you could submit the work to the company and possibly have it published in their next edition. And they do that for each lesson. And so after that, then you would just move into, this is lesson 2. It's very straightforward. It's laid out in a way that's very easy to understand. It's not intimidating. I am by no means an artist. I have people in my family that are very gifted in the arts. I am not. But this doesn't intimidate me because of the way they've laid it out. And so I'm actually really excited to do this with my children. I think they're going to love it. I like that this is full color. You don't have to worry about it just being in black and white and kind of being dismal. I'm one that likes color in a lot of my materials. It helps to motivate me. And I love that in this program, you're not just using crayons and markers and pencils. You're using actual art materials, clay and watercolor crayons and oil pastels, those types of things. Even though your child may be younger, like mine, you're still using actual materials, real materials, and you're studying real art. This kind of has like a Charlotte Mason type vibe to it. So I'm excited about that. And like I said, this is book 1 of the elementary book series. There are also books for middle schoolers and high schoolers. So for our Bible study this year, we have chosen Grapevine Studies. I actually came across this when I was looking at Confession of a Homeschooler's curriculum for this past year. She's doing this with her children. And when I first got onto the website, I wasn't exactly sure. I was kind of confused, actually. I wasn't sure how to go about choosing what was right for my child. And so I went back and forth and I did a little more research and I thought, okay, I think I get this. I think I understand it. So I purchased it and I'm glad I did, because once I got the material and started looking into it, I thought, okay, now I get it. This looks like a really good program and it looks like something that'll be really easy for me. And so when I got the program, it came with this little like diagram, and I wanted to show you guys this because it's a little bit easier to understand how they break things down. So they have topical studies over Joseph, Esther, Ruth, Moses, the birth of Jesus, and the resurrection. And then they have overviews of the New Testament and Old Testament, and they're broken down by level. And so I went back and forth on beginner, which is pre-K and K, and level 1, which is first and second. I will have a kindergartner and a first grader for next year. And so I was trying to figure out what would work and not be too challenging, but also not be too easy. My oldest child, if something's too easy for him, he loses focus right away and just gets bored and antsy. But if it's too challenging, he gets really frustrated. So the beginning pre-K and to K program is for ages 5 to 7, and it focuses on people and events. Level 1, which is first to second grade, is for ages 6 to 8, and it focuses on the timeline. Now, my daughter, who will be doing first grade, will be a couple months shy of 5 when we start school next year. And I think with the traceable unit that I purchased for her, and I'll show you that in a minute, I think that she won't have any problem picking this up. I think cognitively this will be fine for her. And so I just wanted to show you that worksheet to see how things are broken down. So when I purchased the material, the first thing I got actually was an email with a PDF file of their suggested schedule to download. And then this material is, it's not bound, but it comes punched, 3-hole punch to put in a binder. So I have two units, one for each child in the teacher's manual. So I'm going to actually show you the student. I think you'll understand the program a little bit better. If I show you the student manuals first. So my daughter, I said that I purchased the traceable unit for her, and you can see it notates that on the cover. So we're doing Old Testament part 1. There are 2 parts. Creation to Jacob. This is the level 1 student, and there are 12 lessons. Now, each lesson, after looking at it and kind of reviewing what Erica from Confessions of a Homeschooler said, I think we will probably stretch each lesson out throughout the week for a week. I did not print out the suggested schedule yet, but I want to say they suggest stretching out one lesson over a couple days. We do Bible every day. That's usually the first thing we do for school. And each lesson is rather lengthy. And my children being young, if I am reading material to them or we're in one, if we stay in one area too long, they just lose interest. And they're just off doing their own thing. So this will get us through about 12 weeks. And I'm thinking this will get us close to the end of the first half of the year. Now, if we end up a couple weeks shy from like Christmas break and we're done with this, I will probably just pull together my own unit or get on like Teachers Pay Teachers and come up with something that focuses on the birth of Jesus and that kind of thing, and maybe make that our kind of our special Bible study for that time of year. So this is the level 1 traceable unit. And when you first get into it, well, you have your table of contents. It starts out with the timeline, because remember, this level focuses on timeline. But I'm actually going to skip over that part and show you where the actual first lesson itself begins. So these are what lesson pages look like for the Grapevine Studies. You have a box, you have the scripture that you're focusing on notated, and in the traceable unit you have these drawings, but they're lightly drawn, and that's what the child is going to trace over. So in this box you have a triangle, so my child would trace over this triangle with, and it'll tell you in the teacher's manual what color to use. Same here in the bottom box. And you can see that this lesson is 1, 2, 3, 4. Then you have review questions, your memory verse, and then 5. So there's 5 pages for each lesson. So there's just absolutely no way with my children that we would get through one whole lesson in a couple days and be able to really grasp and retain the information. We can power through it, but I don't think they're going to get anything from it. So we're going to stretch it out over a week's time. So that's the traceable unit. The level 1 student that's non-traceable, you'll see is pretty straightforward. So it's just the boxes without the lightly drawn pictures on there. So this student would be responsible for drawing the pictures themselves. And that it's the same, I mean, it's the exact same lesson without the lightly colored pictures on there. So for the teacher's manual, you get into it, you've got your table of contents. It talks about their mission statement, teaching method, statement of faith. It has teacher goals, teacher and student supply list. It talks about if you're teaching multi-level, if you have multi-level books you're using, if you've got different ages of children. And then it goes into actually teaching the lesson and talks about teaching the timeline, teaching the lessons, the reviews, all that jazz. And so then you get into the actual lesson itself, and I'm going to skip to what I showed you on, okay. So I showed you the students' lesson, first lesson that they do. So I'm going to show you what the teacher's manual shows how they go about teaching that first lesson. So this shows the lesson goals and key points. Talks about creation, Adam and Eve, and the fall. This is all for like getting through the actual, this is kind of a summary of the entire unit itself. And then you get into the lesson. So this is creation. This would be kind of like that first box on that page I showed you. So here it says, in the beginning, God, and then you read Genesis 1:1. You discuss the scripture, and then it says draw and have students draw the purple God triangle. So here is where my younger student would take a purple crayon or a marker and trace the triangle, and my older child would take a purple crayon or purple marker and draw the triangle. And then over here, like in the bottom box, it says you read aloud the scripture, you discuss this, and then you draw and have students draw light as light rays and darkness. And then you have scriptures to look up. So if you had older children who could read, you could have them look some of those up and take turns reading them. And then this is just the rest of that first lesson I showed you, where it talks about day 2 of creation, day 3, and this kind of shows what a completed student page should look like. So it tells you exactly what you need to be doing as the teacher. There's nothing that you need to prepare. It's already laid out for you. You will need either like a chalkboard or a dry erase board. And you could use, you could have a dry erase board on the wall, or you could have just a small handheld one, whatever your preference would be. But I like that it not only tells you what you're drawing, it shows you what you're drawing. I'm awful at drawing. I mean, I love that these are all stick figures because that's right up my alley. You can see as you move into some of the other lessons where you're actually drawing people. Let me see if I can find them. So like right here, like this is Adam and Eve. They're stick figures because I'm thankful for that, because if it was an actual, like, I was supposed to be drawing an actual person, there's no way that would work. So I like that it shows you what you're drawing. It tells you, it breaks it down. It's very simplified for the teacher, but also it's not to where you couldn't use this for multiple age children, which is what I plan on doing this next year. So I think it's going to work out perfectly for us. So I am really excited about this material, about both our Bible study and our art curriculum that we have chosen. If you have any question on either of these, just post it below in the comment section. And I hope this has been helpful, and I hope y'all have a great day, and I will catch you on my next video. Thanks. Bye.